my channel. This is Stephanie, and we're gonna go ahead and do my February wrap-up. Okay, so I wrote it down because it's been a chaotic time, so I haven't had time to really I needed to write my thoughts down of what I read, so I went ahead and did that. So the first book that I read for February was this Monster. It is Sarah J. Maas's third book in the Crescent City series, House of Flame and Shadow. If you saw in my previous, when I was organizing my library, you saw that I had 3 different copies of House of Flame and Shadow. So yeah, just to give us a quick little overview of what this one was. I want to say it might be the last one, but I don't know because there's 4 houses that are mentioned in Crescent City. So I'm not sure if she's going to go ahead and do a 4th book, but if she does, I'm here for it. I'm going to read it. Whatever. Anyways, I'm going to give this book a 4.5. On my Goodreads, I did put a 5 because it's Sarah J. Maas, so she gets that 0.5. But just to keep it vague, non-spoilery, so this picks up right after book 2, obviously, where Bryce is literally just trying to get back to her mate, to her hunt, Athalar, and also Rune, her brother, because she did get separated from them, and then they got taken away, you know, towards the end of the second book, if you've read it, and they were pretty much just holed up in like a dungeon, and they were being tortured, and it was a terrible time for them. So, you know, while they're in there, obviously going through a lot of things, a lot of terrible things, I will say. But while she's away, Bryce learns from just ancient tellings from different worlds, just that the Asteries that are currently in her city trying to pretty much take over. So she's trying to find ways in how to defeat them. And she learns that they have actually been to different worlds. I'm not spoiling anything for this 3rd book. It was mentioned in the 2nd book if you've read it. And she does learn that these Asteries have been trying to conquer different universes or worlds, or however you want to say. But now they're in Crescent City, so now she wants to defeat them because all they're doing is just taking away their first light and pretty much devouring it for themselves. It is also used to power the city, but first and foremost, it goes to the Asteri. So she doesn't want that anymore, of course, so she wants to get rid of that. We also explore the point of views of Ethan, of Hunt, of Rune, of Lydia, also known as the Hind, also known as, I can't say much more. Okay, I'll stop there. Just in case you don't know in the 2nd book. But anyways, we also get the point of view of Therian. So it does, I guess the thing that I didn't like in this book is that it jumps from different point of views in one chapter. So everything felt a little jumbly, and you're trying to wait until a couple sentences to pick up who is actually, you know, telling their side now. So that part I didn't like so much because it was just too much in one chapter, too many people's thoughts and feelings in one chapter, and that was a little bit messy at times for me. And then obviously trying to see what's happening. So there wasn't much of relationship type things happening in this book. There was some spice, but it wasn't anything that was to talk about, I guess. It really mostly explored, you know, just everyone trying to come together so they can defeat the Asteri, and that's really what the story is. It did leave off well enough that if she didn't write a 4th book for this series, I wouldn't be mad at, because I think it left off pretty good. You know, I believe the only thing they can really go from this point is just trying to, I guess, rebuild their home, their, you know, Lunathian. So, you know, I don't know where she's gonna go. I know she mentioned another ACOTAR book, so I'd rather want that one more than Fourth Crescent City, to be honest. But that's just me. So that was that. That's all I'll say. I don't want to speak on it more than that because I don't want to potentially give more away. So that's it. Let me take a little coffee break. The second book that I read was so good. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. It was so good, guys. That was such a good book. So to talk about it, I gave this a 5-star automatically. I love the thriller type of books now. Like, it has definitely gone up in my genres of wanting to read. So like thriller, suspense, even a little bit of horror. I like it. So this is kind of just trying to figure out what's real, you know? So we're gonna start with Evie Porter, and Ryan Summer is who we start with in the beginning of the story. She's pretty much, this is her next job given to her by someone named Mr. Smith, and she doesn't really find out who Mr. Smith is until the ending, but this is just someone she's only ever spoken to through phone ever since he kind of like hired her for a job or she was almost caught doing something illegal, and you know, as a means to survive. So because she came from nothing, she had a tough childhood where it was just her and her mother, but you know, unfortunately, you know, things didn't go as planned with her mom and things like that. So she does have a rough family background. But then she soon discovers that her past is actually trying to come up to her and possibly ruffle some feathers. So we go through 2 different timelines. So we go to the past, and then we also go through her previous aliases. So each job that she's been given since she was hired by Mr. Smith, of, you know, things that he wanted or whatever to acquire from these people. So that is kind of what this story is about. So she's on another alias, you know, when she meets Ryan Summer. And then we also are following her in the present time, of course. She has a tech guy named Devin, and he is just such a good friend. He's so amazing. I really liked him. He takes care of her. Always looking out for her. She says there's times when she's like, I need to do this alone. He's like, you know, I'm not going to let you do this by yourself. He's like, so stop doing that. And so I definitely do like their friendship. It was a nice, refreshing thing that was happening in the book. So I did like that as well. Ryan seems to really enjoy her as his girlfriend, but after her last job seemingly being a major screw up, she's just trying to prove her worth in this job with this guy named Ryan, and trying to make up for the last job that she did, which in Mr. Smith's eyes was a total completely failure. And so now, yeah, we're just trying to see who's telling the truth, or who's good at lying. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that. It was a good, fun read. If you like these type of books, suspense, you know, mystery type, whodunit type, this one's it. It deserves the hype that it was getting. So I definitely recommend this book for sure. So next, the third book I read, I actually don't have it with me, but I'll put it here. It is called You Again by Kate Goldbeck. So this follows Ari and Josh. Ari is a struggling comedian. Josh is a chef. This is supposed to be a modern retelling of When Harry Met Sally, which I haven't watched. Do not get angry at me, but I have not watched that one. I barely watched Sleepless in Seattle, so got one off the list. So we start in 2014 is when this takes place. When they first meet in the afternoon, she's like giving brochures, like an activism type thing at a zoo or like a museum or something, and then he is just trying to get coffee, and she's shouting at him. And that's when they first meet. But then she later finds out that afternoon that Josh is dating her roommate. So after they have a bit of an explosive type of argument in her friend's apartment, yeah, that's the last time she sees him. So then they skip to 3 years later after that, where he meets her again, but at his restaurant that he's working at, because her friend works there as well and she's drinking. And again, when he approaches her, because he's like, I remember you, you used to be my ex-girlfriend's roommate. And then they go ahead and get into another argument there as well. So then we're going to skip again another 2 years. And then they meet up at a New Year's party. But both him and Ari, they are in committed relationships at this point. And then they see each other again after 3 years. So yes, this is a lot. So let's see, we start in 2014 and then it goes to 3 years later, so 2017, and then we skip 2 years, so 2019, and then we skip 3 years, so now we're in 2022 at this point, which is the modern time. So they're both getting out of very messy relationships. Josh and his girlfriend finally broke up because they couldn't make the long distance work, and she didn't want to move with him, and he couldn't move with her because he was doing all these things here in New York, so he couldn't leave. And Ari has a broken relationship with her wife, unfortunately. So she's going through that. She's going through that divorce, breakup thing. And then in unseemingly way, they become friends. They actually see each other again at an adult sex shop. That's where they meet up again, and that's where they strike their friendship. So from then on, they become buddies, and they're both helping each other out, you know, trying to get out of these relationships, trying to grow and, you know, become someone who is a single person, but also someone who can move on from these relationships and possibly something that maybe they could start. So it was a cute tale. I really liked it. So you can kind of see how one will get jealous of the other. One person will actually, you know, say that they may have feelings, but then the other one kind of runs away. So it's a good little rom-com type of book. I would give this maybe about a 4-star rating for this book. It was only through audiobook. I don't have the physical copy, but despite that, it was a good book. I really liked it. I'll have to see When Harry Met Sally so I can maybe get the gist of what I read as well. Maybe I need a visual to go along with this. So all in all, not a bad book. I definitely would recommend if you like that movie, if you enjoy a nice little rom-com. So that was the third book. And then the fourth book was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This was an automatic 5-star. It was so good. I did a video right before this one, and it pretty much, I go over that whole book. So I'm not really going to go into too much details on that because I already did that in my previous video. So, which I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start getting books off my physical TBR. So I'm probably going to make a bit of a TBR reading vlog series. So I already put part 1 up. So I'm going to continue that, and we're going to keep putting up random books. So be on the lookout for that. And then the last book I read, which is the 5th book that I read, is called This Spells Love by Kate Robb. So I'm just going to go over my notes because the noggin, we're not all here. So this is following Gemma. This is following Gemma's sister, Kirsten, and her longtime guy friend of about 4 years. His name is Dax. And so in the beginning of the story, it's Gemma was left heartbroken. She decides that she needs a night off from this heartbreak. So they all four gather for a night of drinks. And her Aunt Livy, I didn't even mention her, sorry. Her Aunt Livy owns a bookshop, and one day she's like, oh, I actually got this spell book. Let's use it to maybe mend your broken heart. So what do? They cast a spell so that she forgets her ex, whoever, like, that he never came into her life those 4 years ago. So, and his name is Stuart. So the next day she comes to find out that the spell actually worked a little too well. So it does have some consequences, because it feels like an alternate timeline, I guess you could say, is what it really came out as. So now she has to kind of maybe redo all the events that took place when they first did the spell. Because in this timeline, Dax has no idea who she is. He is not very successful. He's struggling. He doesn't know who she is. She owns a shop that she's never owned before in her, first timeline. So it's a little wackadoo. And it really reminds me of The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. It was a cute book. I definitely enjoyed it. I would give this a 3.5 stars, but since I can't do that on Goodreads, I went ahead and just bumped it up to 4, which is not bad at all, obviously. So we go through this whole month because she has to wait for the waning gibbous moon, which is going to be a month away. So throughout this month, she's pretty much just seeing what her life is now without Stuart, not remembering him, not knowing him. And she pretty much starts to see her best friend, who she's known as just her best friend, in something different, a new light. So, and I think she starts to like it and like him. And so, yeah, we go through this, but unfortunately he has so many other things that are going so wrong in his life. And she's like, I can't do this to you. I need to get back. I need to get back to where we were. Even if I'm falling for you in this timeline, I have to go back to my original line, because I need to make this up. Because in, my timeline, you're not struggling. You're not having to do all these things to try to come up and be a business owner. Neither her. She's not living her full potential in the first timeline, but in the second one, she is. She has her own beauty shop, and it's successful and it's growing. And, in the first one, she's not living to her potential. She's got part-time gigs and stuff, and it's not working out for her. So even though she's going to lose hers, she wants to make sure her best friend actually has the better non-struggling. And she said, you know what? When I get back to my timeline, I'll work on it, even though he's just going to be my best friend and that's all it's going to be. Unfortunately, that's okay. I want him to not struggle. I want him to have his business and be successful, and I'll do what I need to do on my part to become a successful beauty shop owner, which is what she wants to do ultimately. So yeah, that was all I read, and it was a short reading month. Unfortunately, I didn't get to read as much as I wanted to. I actually joined a in-person book club with my tattoo artist, so that's pretty cool. So she is the one who created the book club, so I'm gonna start attending. I couldn't attend this past round because I have a surgery, so yeah, we're gonna make that up at the end of the month and we're gonna do that. But anyways, that's it for me. On my next video, I actually need to do a book haul because I just got some new books and I didn't buy them. Well, I technically did buy them, but they're part of my subscriptions. They're part of pre-orders from months ago that are barely coming in now. So I have to show those off to you, but I'll show them when my arm feels a little bit better and I can actually carry the books and show them off for you. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.